math page for section 3.6 on congruent angles. They tell you what congruent angles are, and they also tell you what vertical angles are, just in case you forgot. Let's look at number 1. Determine whether each of the following is true or false. If the statement is false, replace the underlined words to make the statement true. Vertical angles are supplementary. That's false. Vertical angles are congruent. Part B, all right angles are congruent. True. All right angles are 90. So if they're all 90, then they're all congruent to each other. Part C, if two angles are complementary to the same angle, then they are vertical. That's false. They're not vertical, they're congruent. If two angles are complementary to the same angle, then those two angles, they're the same as each other. Part D, if two angles are congruent, then their supplements are congruent. That's true. If you have two 100-degree angles, they're congruent to each other. Well, their supplements are both 80. Wouldn't they be congruent to each other too? Part E, if two angles are congruent and supplementary, then each is an obtuse angle. That's false. If they're the same and they add up to 180, what number plus itself gives you 180? 90 does. They need to be right angles. Number 2, we're going to use this figure at the right. Name two pairs of congruent angles. Well, I see two congruent vertical angles right there. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Those angles are acute. Now, there's also some obtuse vertical angles. They're congruent to each other also. But they're definitely not the same as angles 1 and 3. So, write a sentence to explain why they're congruent. They're vertical. That's what you would write. These are vertical angle pairs. Name a pair of acute vertical angles. Now, that's angle 1 and angle 3. Your obtuse ones are angle 2 and angle 4. Why did you choose those as the acute ones? Well, you can look at the picture and clearly see they're acute angles. Same thing down here. These are definitely obtuse angles. Number 3, suppose angle A and angle B are vertical angles. If the measure of angle A can be represented by the expression a number plus 25, x plus 25, and the measure of angle B is 70, what is the value of x? Explain your method for finding the value. This is no different than any problem that we did on the skills practice or the practice page. It's just in word form, which makes it look confusing. If these are vertical angles, then they're the same. If this one's 70, what's this one? It's going to be 70 also. You need to model that with algebra. Okay, so the value of x is 45.